Hello, good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight, Thursday evening. I'm Roger Johnson. Thank you for joining us. Our top story. From the darkness into the light, Liverpool's Spellow Lane Library reopens after being destroyed by rioters.
To end up with $250,000 and more book donations than could fit in one library, I think it just goes to show that there are so many good people in the world. The good will always outweigh the bad.
Over 11,000 people donated to the rebuild. Also tonight, a call to change the law after Tim was killed by a drink driver who was on bail for dangerous driving.
We're walking in the air.
Snowmen and snow dogs, Buxton's mass sing-along to get you in the mood. And if it didn't, Noddy Holder's festive fundraiser probably will. The Slade singer is raffling his sculpture in aid of East Cheshire Hospice.
And I thought this photograph summed up the weather today perfectly. A lot of cloud, the sun trying to peep through, but the question is, will we ever see the sun again? Well, join me at the end of the programme to find out.
Now, when Liverpool's Spellow Lane Library was destroyed by arsonists during the summer riots, locals were dismayed. It wasn't just a library, it was a hub for the community. The damage prompted a national outcry. £250,000 was raised. Famous authors donated their books. Even Queen Camilla gave to the appeal. Well, last night we saw the build-up to the grand reopening, which happened today. And our Merseyside reporter Andy Gill is live for us inside the library, which looks magnificent tonight, Andy.
It does, Roger. This is the corner where the fire was started, and I was here a few days after. You could still smell the smoke in the air there. Now, though, they're in the Christmas spirit. There's some artwork going on the window celebrating the fact that this is not just about books. Lots of activities go on here. This is the cabinet of the books donated by the Queen. There are lots more books, you would expect so, in a library as well. There's a children's library just over here. It's quiet now. It's a library. It was anything but quiet when today's celebrations got underway.
There she goes again.
The choir of Arnott St Mary Primary School sing a melody of Liverpool pop for the grand reopening. This was a joyful day, a celebration of community spirit in the face of violence and anger.
We should celebrate, not discriminate. Learn to appreciate, don't play a hate. Cause there's room for you and there's space for me.
Messiah! What a contrast to 4 months ago. Riots were sparked by false internet rumours about the identity of the man suspected of the Southport attack. They left the Spellow Library burnt and damaged. The children's laureate, Frank Cottrell Boyce, told me why burning a library is such a shocking act.
I think one of the reasons there was such an outpouring of love and support for this is that there is something really kind of medieval about burning a library down, isn't it? If you think about Julius Caesar burnt down the Library of Alexandria 2,500 years ago, and people are still talking about it. You know, it's a big wound, doesn't it? It feels like an assault on something essential.
3, 2, 1.
The official opening was carried out by a couple who were regulars at the library.
We were really honoured to be asked because we were really sad when we heard that it had been vandalised.
We use it a lot, you see.
We use it a lot. We read a lot.
The next generation of readers was here too.
We understand like how it's quiet and how there are always people that there to help us with everything we need.
I saw what was happening. I was devastated, but I love it because it's better than old when it was used to be. I just love it.
In my life, I love you more.
Today's celebrations followed a lantern procession to the library last night. After the riots, Alex McCormack started a GoFundMe page to get £500 to replace the books. She raised £250,000.
To end up with $250,000 and more book donations than could fit in one library, I think it just goes to show that there are so many good people in the Wales. The goods will always outweigh the bads. And people really value these spaces. They value their libraries, they value their community spaces, and we need to protect them and fight for them.
This was Spello before. This is Spello still. No lies or fire can dim our lights. We're a beacon on the hill.
One of the people who donated books was the Queen. She hopes to come here herself in the next year. Well, we've come up on the gallery of the library now, where there are workstations for people to use, poems by local children which reference the importance of the library and the violence that happened here in August. Let's talk to Councillor Harry Doyle, who's the Cabinet Member for Culture for Liverpool Council. You were telling me about all the money that we've heard about being raised and all the books. You haven't spent the money yet.
No.
What are you going to spend all that money on?
Well, that's down to the community. You know, we were very, very clear from the beginning that we were going to get this library back open for the community. It's a hub of knowledge, it's a hub of support for the community. Actually, the fundraising, over 11,000 people donated to that. That was a real show of love and solidarity, and we really appreciated that. I want to thank everybody. But that's the additionalities for this library, and that is up to the community how we spend that going forward. And it'll be a fantastic opportunity for, you know, some fantastic projects in here.
So there's going to be a consultation with adults and children just for this library about what they want to spend that money on.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, listen, this community has gone through a lot, you know, over the last 14, 15 years, but also obviously most recently. And last night, we talked about pride in place a lot. Last night was pride and power. And power in place, because when we think about what we saw on the streets, when we think about people reclaiming these streets, hope, and that feeling of unity, that's what last night was about. And in opening today, bringing back that light was fantastic. And this is now the community's opportunity to really do what they like.
OK, Councillor Doyle, thank you very much. From the new reopened Spello Library, back to you, Roger.
Andy, thank you very much. It looks absolutely fantastic. Now, the family of a father who was killed in a crash caused by a man who had been released on bail for dangerous driving have called for the law to be changed. 31-year-old Joshua Eldred was driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol when he crashed into the car that Tim Burgess was in July. Davinia Ramos has this report.
Tim was the most beautiful, gentle soul. He was very special. He was deeply loved by everybody that knew him. He's deeply missed by everybody.
Lindsay's brother Tim was killed in a car crash earlier this year. The vehicle he was in, along with his girlfriend, was struck by Joshua Eldred, who was driving on the wrong side of the road, high on cocaine and alcohol.
She was driving, he was in the passenger seat, and they were plodding along around 40 miles an hour in a 50 zone. And the other driver came on the other side of the road, overtook a van on a blind bend and smashed straight into them head on. After the collision, his girlfriend came round. Tim was lying on her lap, unresponsive, with his eyes open.
Tim died in that vehicle, in his girlfriend's arms. His family later discovered that the driver had been arrested on suspicion of dangerous driving just 10 days earlier, when he had also been intoxicated. They now want the law changing so that those charged with dangerous driving would immediately have their licences revoked, pending trial and sentencing.
He'd hit another car, he was intoxicated, and he'd fled the scene. When we found this out, we felt confused and shocked. Why was this man actually on the road? Why wasn't he remanded in custody? Why wasn't his licence revoked? Why wasn't there any bail conditions put on him? Because if there had been, Tim would still be alive. You know, my brother's death really was avoidable.
Lindsay started a petition online campaigning for a change to the law. It's received more than 70,000 signatures so far.
He's left a massive void in all our lives. It's devastating. So if we can get some laws changed and this discussed in Parliament, then, you know, we're going to help other people. There'll be less accidents, less deaths on the road, and then Tim's death won't have been in vain.
This Christmas will be a tough one for Lindsay and her family, but they hope some good can come from such a horrible tragedy. Davinia Ramos, BBC North West Tonight, in Wallasey.
Let's take a look at some of the other stories making the headlines in the North West tonight now. And an investigation's underway after a 19-year-old man died while working at Langton Dock in Bootle. He was found with fatal injuries at a private industrial site off Regent Road yesterday. The police and the Health and Safety Executive are investigating. A 17-year-old boy has died after a car that he was a passenger in left the road in West Lancashire, crashing into a farm building and bursting into flames. 3 other teenage boys were seriously injured in the collision on Fir Tree Lane in Orton. They were taken to hospital. The police are appealing for witnesses. A firm providing cosmetic surgery in Turkey disputes the findings of an inquest into the death of a Salford woman who underwent a Brazilian butt lift procedure. As we reported last night, the coroner concluded that mum of 3, Demi Agolia, died after injected fat entered her bloodstream, but the company, Comfort Zone, denies that she did not give her informed consent and that unqualified staff cared for her after the procedure. And Preston's iconic row of red phone boxes is being taken away for restoration work. The 9 Grade 2 listed landmarks form the longest line of historic phone boxes in the UK. They're being taken to Yorkshire for repairs and will return to Market Street next year, where it is hoped that they will be used for art displays. Right, next to the latest in our series, counting down to Everton Football Club's departure from Goodison Park. When the team moves to Bramley Moor Dock and the old ground is redeveloped, the community charity linked to the club is staying. In recent years, it has been helping young homeless people to learn the skills for independent living. I've been to meet one of them. Making a cuppa. It's something most people do most days without a thought, but for Mia, it's a symbolic act of independence. Having been a young carer for a parent, at 17 she found herself sofa surfing around friends' houses before a social worker referred her to Everton in the community.
It was tough because at the time I was in college doing a course, but I couldn't really concentrate on it that well because I didn't really have that stability at home. So that's sort of like why moving into Homes Where the Heart Is was such like a massive change for me, because like you get your own room, you get your key for your room, you get like facilities like your own cupboard for your food, just the little things that people may take for granted.
Mia knows these streets well. She's now 23. The place she came to call home is just a goal kick from Goodison Park. She was here during the COVID lockdowns. The period of enforced stability may have helped.
We had like a lot of fun things going on, like we had movie nights, we'd go out on daily walks together. We would, when lockdown lifted, we went for like a beach day and like a barbecue.
Home is Where the Heart Is opened in 2019. It's helped dozens since then. Most stay at least 6 months before finding their feet. But how many more Mias might there be on these streets?
People have this perception that homelessness is the man with a dog with a bit of string on a street corner. But, you know, homelessness, it can be the hidden homeless, people sofa surfing, people have an inconsistency of accommodation. So if you look at the bigger picture, I don't think people realise how we are in the middle of, I would argue, a homelessness epidemic.
Mia's now got her own place, has a job in a bank and a stable relationship, all helped by the skills she learnt living here.
My confidence was just like completely like down here, now it's like through the roof. When you live here, they don't just allow somewhere for you to live, they don't let you leave without building you up as well. I'm just so like grateful for everything that happened here. It's probably like weirdly the best years of my life living here.
It was lovely to meet Mia and to chat to her. I wish her all the best, and we'll have more on Goodbye to Goodison as the months go by before they move out at the end of the football season. Now, we're going to meet a young man called Alfie Lund now. He's 16. He lives in West Lancashire and he's got a rare life-limiting illness. It's called MECP2 duplication syndrome. His family wants to raise awareness about it. Alfie also loves football. So they put out an appeal for football scarves and they received thousands of them, literally, from around the world. And here is another one of those aptonyms that we were talking about recently, where your job matches your name. Which reporter could we send to report on Alfie's scarf collection? Alice Scarf, with 2 Fs, of course.
Alfie and Mark have received over 3,000 football scarves and have taken them on tour across the UK.
It just went from one thing to another and it just escalated. There was scarves, shirts, flags, hats, all coming in. Postman was doing like 2-3 runs a day. Alfie's condition is life-limiting. We always said that, you know, you could go and sulk in the corner or you can get out there and show them. And that's what we did, didn't we, Alfie?
Alfie's campaign may have gone global, but it all started around the corner at Burscough Richmond FC, who play in the West Lancashire Football League.
We surrounded the whole pitch and that got circulated on social media. That was the very start. Grassroots football. We went to FC United. That was the day I actually thought something big's happening here. We walked round the ground at half-time on the pitch and people started throwing scarves out the stands. Knowing you've got all them people that are listening and, you know, supporting you, you know, it does make you stronger, you know, because there are dark days, there always will be. You know, we can't thank them all enough for how Alfie's been supported, as well as all the other children as well.
Alice Scarf, BBC North West Tonight, Burscough.
That's brilliant, isn't it? We wish Alfie all the best. Right, we'll continue with the football now. Actually, the game that's going on at the moment, Manchester United are playing in the Europa League, taking on the Czech side Pilsen. It's goalless at half-time. United away in the Czech Republic. They began the evening unbeaten in the competition. They're 12th in the table. Manchester City's hopes of progressing to the knockout stages of the Champions League, though, are on a knife edge after they... Right, it's time now to tell you about this year's BBC North West Unsung Sports Hero, who will go through to represent the region at next Tuesday's star-studded Sports Personality of the Year event. His name is Paul McIntyre. He's from Nantwich in Cheshire. He founded the Nantwich Triathlon Club, where he really does go the extra mile to help others. And Richard Askham went to surprise him with his award.
Steady! Go! Paul McIntyre at a recent Dabbers Dash, a 5-kilometre walk, run or cycle around a park in Nantwich.
Any town could do this. It really is zero cost. You can see it works.
5k without stopping. Yeah, the first one was last night. Wow.
The Dabbers Dash is as much about socialising and mental health as it is physical fitness, with the Dash bringing together people from all backgrounds and abilities. And from a handful of people at the beginning, now has dozens taking part.
Everybody's joined for different reasons.
People can run or they can walk or they can do both, and people come with their dogs and their children.
I want to show some support for them and the club and the community.
Paul regularly invites local charities to come along, promote what they do and be a part of it.
We came down and Paul was so welcoming to us and totally got what we were about. It's encouraging us now to form a walking group as well within what we do.
It's just needed. I think everybody needs to come together in the community and spread positivity.
Paul also founded the Nantwich Triathlon Club in 2001, a sport he now excels in. One of its members is Sam Lee, who just a few years ago was severely overweight. But after joining a running club, she met Paul, who helped her to turn her life around.
Paul was a driving force behind me. I lived a sedentary lifestyle out in the country, lived on takeaways and booze, and I discovered a whole new way of life. Paul's just a driving force of community spirit, community sports, engagement. He just doesn't stop.
So Matthew, hold on, G. Hold on. I see a pride flag in the wind. So that's the finish line. Oh. It's not an accident.
Judging by what I've seen, he certainly doesn't. So now to surprise the man himself.
It's a very special reason as well why we're filming today, which is that Paul has been named as the BBC Sports Personality Unsung Hero for the North West. I would like to present you with this amazing work that you do. Thank you so much for what you do. Ladies and gentlemen, Paul McIntyre.
Humbled and yeah, amazed. It might not solve everyone's problems, but it kind of helps people get on with life in spite of them.
All part of a huge contribution from Paul, who's clearly determined to keep on making a difference to communities in Cheshire.
Oh, really well done to Paul. Tuesday night he'll be on the Sports Personality of the Year show as well. Now, we've got a musical theme between now and the weather with Kay. First of all, the Christmas classic loved by millions, Raymond Briggs' The Snowman. Well, today Buxton was treated to a special musical rendition of the famous Christmas song Walking in the Air, because musicians from the Snowman production invited school children to surprise people with a mass sing-along in the town. Heidi Booth was in Buxton to watch.
A festive treat for people in Buxton. Over 100 school children came to the Pavilion Gardens to sing the Christmas classic with a professional orchestra ahead of the Snowman production in the Octagon.
When we heard about the Snow Dogs in Buxton, we just thought we have to do something special to mark this. So we just thought it'd be great to give the general public and the schools the opportunity to also sing that wonderful solo.
It comes as the Snow Dog Sculpture Trail in Buxton approaches its last weekend in the town, before each sculpture is auctioned off to raise money for Blythe House Hospice.
So we're a local hospice charity, so we rely heavily on fundraising to be able to continue providing the care that we do across North Derbyshire. So yeah, things like these are just so important to us to be able to raise that money that we so desperately need.
It's so heartwarming, and to see the children watching the Snowman as well, and the orchestra were just brilliant.
You could see people's faces enjoying it. Absolutely fantastic.
Being in amongst the orchestra and hearing all the voices and the instruments, it was just magic, really magical.
Despite the cold, wet December day, onlookers were left feeling festive after coming together for the sing-along.
Heidi Booth there. Walking in the Air is a great song, isn't it? But for me, the Christmas song is Merry Christmas, Everybody. Slade, 1973. Noddy Holder, absolute banger. It's Christmas. You know the bit. I know that others will disagree. That's my view. BBC presenters occasionally allowed to have an opinion. Noddy, who lives in Cheshire and who's had cancer treatment, is helping his local East Cheshire hospice this Christmas with the help of that little fella there. Katie Barnfield's got the story.
After more than 5 decades, he's still the sound of Christmas. But it was almost a very different story for Slade frontman Noddy Holder.
5 years ago, I was diagnosed with esophagus cancer and given 6 months to live. And luckily for me, I went to the Christie in Manchester and they gave me this heavy bout of chemo. And luckily for me, I'm still here.
After facing end-of-life care himself, he and his wife Susan are now giving back, holding a raffle to win a mini version of the singer himself.
So we're raising funds for East Cheshire Hospice, which we kind of got to know through the Christie. And as you can see here, we have this amazing artwork. It's a sculpture by an artist called Patty Callahan.
I just thought, oh, it'd be fun to do because he's instantly recognisable, you know, the mirror top hat and everything. And I'm a child of the 70s, so it was like, ooh, Noddy Holder, that'd be fun.
Patty says it was just by chance that Noddy came across her sculpture.
The morning after the preview, I saw this post on Instagram from Suzanne saying, look what was at the art fair, and it was Noddy next to my sculpture. It's like, wow, it's just so exciting. I had no idea.
The East Cheshire Hospice only gets 20% of its funding from the NHS. The rest is all from donations. Chief Executive Karen says fundraisers like the raffle are crucial to keeping it going.
The challenges have always been there. It's going to be an even bigger challenge next year with the national insurance contributions and everything that hits us, that we won't, in line with other charities and every other hospice in the Northwest, has to then find that extra money that came out of nowhere.
Frank has been staying here for the past few weeks and credits the staff with giving him dignity in the final months of his life.
They do so much that, you know, people think of a hospice, oh, that's where you go to die.
wrong. It's where you go to live. There are people who are really, really worried. If they were here and in places like this, they wouldn't be as worried.
Raffle tickets for the sculpture are now on sale for £10 each. As for the real Noddy, this Christmas will be much like any other.
Sometimes. Every Christmas morning, that's how he wakes me up, seriously.
Merry Christmas, everybody!
Katie Barnfield, BBC North West Tonight.
Imagine that on Christmas morning. It's Christmas, get up!
That is basically what I do.
Is it?
I wake the kids up.
You wake the kids up, yeah, but I'm not surprised.
Now then, weather-wise today, how have we been? Well, pretty much how we've been all week, haven't we? A lot of cloud out and about. So here we were in Cheshire. Liz, thanks for sending that photograph in. We did see it thinning a little, breaking for some bright spells. Coffee and cakes and that fabulous picture in. Thank you so much. If you want to send me yours, then you can follow me on socials. You can see them there or become a BBC Weather Watcher and then let me know what it's looking like where you are. Try and get those photos on the telly. Tomorrow, a very similar day to today. It's going to be mostly cloudy. Could be potentially the odd spot of rain, but amounts really will be small. And that's because we're starting to lose high pressure. It's pushing away. And as we look to the north, we start to see this cold front that's going to introduce clearer, fresher air and some sunshine. So Saturday, the better day out of the weekend for spells of sunshine. Not tonight, obviously, the sun's already set, but it's cloudy, and over the hills that cloud could produce a little bit of light rain and drizzle and some hill fog as well. It's not going to be cold. Temperatures dropping down to around about 5 to 7 degrees. On the Isle of Man, that thicker cloud is likely to produce a little bit of rain at first through tomorrow morning. Elsewhere, a lot of cloud. Once again, some of us lucky enough to see that cloud thinning a little, breaking perhaps for occasional spells of sunshine. Temperature-wise, 7 to 8 or 9 degrees. Then, as we head through into the weekend, the cold front clears through. We start to get a warm front pushing in, so cloud increases once again. But we're starting to get more wind and rain coming in as we start into next week, so becoming more unsettled as we head through into next week. For Saturday, though, we start off with variable cloud. It starts to break up, some decent spells of sunshine, reminding ourselves what that sunshine actually looks like.
Hey, good news, yeah. Listen, you might recognise this face. A quick look. An early Christmas present for our colleague Steve Saul today. He was given an honorary fellowship at UCLan for services to regional broadcasting.
Look at that smile.
Yeah, well done, Steve.
What
Congratulations. Thank you for watching. Have a great evening.
Take
Good
care.
night.